Good to go?
Yep.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's John and Katie with CW23. Today we are very excited to have one of the world's most beloved authors. He is a New York Times bestseller. He's had 11 film adaptations, which have grossed over $750 million. And his latest film, The Choice, opens February 5th. Nicholas Sparks, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we saw the movie, we loved it. I'm just curious myself, what are some of the major differences between this movie and the novel that you wrote?
Well, I think if there were any major differences, I think there was a little more chance in the novel to explore a little bit about what happens after the honeymoon ends, and so you got to see a little bit more about married life and things like that. With that said, I thought the film did a really great job of capturing the spirit and the intent of the story, and certainly it captured the spirit and the intent of the characters.
Yeah, and that's a great point about after the honeymoon and after the marriage. One thing I love about your films is they're not cookie cutter love stories. There's more to it. It acknowledges the fact that life isn't perfect.
Oh yeah.
Why do you take that approach on your novels and your films?
More than anything, I just want the stories to feel real, right? And so that's why I'm not writing about astronauts or billionaires or even serial killers, because look, I know they're out there, but I haven't met any of them, right?
We hope not.
Right, exactly. So I try to write about people, a veterinarian or a medical school student, right? You feel like, hey, I know people like this. It was my cousin, it was my neighbor, it's someone at work, their kid or something like that. So it feels real. And then I try to draw the viewer or the reader through all of the emotions of life so that it feels even more real. And in stories like these, that's what I try to do, and realism is part of that.
Was there a specific event in your life or somebody that you know that helped you write The Choice and gave you the idea for this?
Not to help write, no, that's always on me. But Travis, yeah, he was inspired by my older brother. He was great. My brother was a great bachelor. I got married relatively young, and I'd call him, oh, I'm changing diapers and getting puked on, and what are you doing? Oh, I'm going sailing and going out with Meg on Friday and Joan on Saturday, and then we're having a barbecue. And you're like, huh, your life sounds happier or more carefree than mine at this time, right? So I really wanted to write a story about a guy who, all right, he's very content, but one by one his friends have been married, and well, what would it take for him to finally settle down?
Definitely. You've worked with many talented actors and helped launch a lot of careers. CW fans in general will be excited about this film because Tom Welling is coming back to the screen. Of course, we all know him from Smallville, which was on our station. What was it like? I mean, did you have a lot to do with the casting process, and what was it like working with this group? Oh,
it was a lot of fun, and yes, I do have a lot to do with casting. I've had a lot to do with casting ever since my very first films came out, and so. And with that said, I'm just one voice in the room, right? I mean, the studio has opinions, and the director has opinions, and sometimes the other co-stars have an opinion. What was great about this particular cast was the way we wanted to film. We knew we were going to ask them to do so much emotionally. They made it a very familial atmosphere on set, so everyone just felt comfortable enough to really go deep and try different things without any other tension from the set itself.
Okay. So this film was shot in North Carolina and South Carolina, and I believe you're from North Carolina, is that correct?
That's correct.
So one thing I noticed is the scenery is amazing in this film.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Like flying, like the camera flying over the boat, over the ocean and stuff like that.
Right.
Did you pick out these locations? I mean, you're obviously familiar with this area. How did that
Yeah, it was filmed
happen?
about 10 minutes from where I was living, so I knew all these areas. And yeah, I was actually in on the selection of the locations. And how we did that? Well, we just hopped in the boat and just rode along. Well, how about that place? Or how about that place? And we found this great house and had this empty lot kind of next door. And we said, okay, we can put up a little house there for Gabby's, right? It was great.
Nice.
A lot of writers have their own kind of method to getting inspired, and maybe they have a room that they need to write in or a chair they're usually in. I want to know, is there anything that specifically inspires you, or a place, a zone that you need to get in to write these stories?
No. I think I can write anywhere. I mean, I was writing yesterday on the plane, and then I wrote yesterday, finished my writing in a hotel room. So as a general rule, when I'm at home, I write in the same place, but that's just because it's quieter and I'm used to it. And I'll usually put the TV on in the background or something just for some background noise, and then I'll work, but really I can write anywhere.
Nice.
Awesome.
I guess the main problem I have with your films is that these leading guys, you're setting the bar way too high.
Yeah, right?
I mean, come on, like, did you see The Bachelor a couple years ago?
Of
Juan
course.
Pablo? That's more my kind of guy, because after that season, like anything I did, my wife was like, you're a great guy.
Right,
But if she's gonna see these kind of movies, she's gonna think like you're slumming it.
John's in trouble.
I'm in trouble, yes. Is this the type of person that you are, or Where does this come from?
Well, you know, I would like to think I'm like this a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's something to aspire to. Look, I tend to be fairly empathetic, and I tend to be, as a writer, observant of other people. So if, you know, someone says, hey, I really like this, you know, months later I'll remember it at gift time and things like that. And of course, I'm a writer, so jotting notes or writing things in cards or writing special letters, that probably comes easier to me than other people.
All right.
Well, a lot of your novels have turned into movies, and many of them, and I've seen a ton of them. When you're writing nowadays, do you write with the intent that it could become a script, or do you just kind of have to block that out and write a novel?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's both, really. When I'm thinking of the story, I think in terms of both the novel and the film. So I try to come up with characters that might be interesting, both in a story with words and then a story with pictures. And so you try to pick things that'll work in both mediums. But then once I have a story that I think will work both as a novel and a film, and I actually start writing, like the first sentence, it's only about the writing. After that, I just concentrate on the novel.
Great. So, See Me, your most recent novel, recently came out.
Yeah.
Is that going to be your next film, or do you know what your next film is going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be The Guardian, actually.
Okay.
And we're going back, going back into the past. And that's one of the reasons why I started my own production company. It was to keep the ball rolling at about one film every year to a year and a half. And so we're right on schedule there. I would think that See Me will be a film, but it just won't be the next film.
Cool.
You've sold over 100 million books. I definitely know I have a favorite with The Notebook, but do you have any favorites that stand out in your mind?
No, it's interesting, and the standard answer is, oh, they're all like your kids, and you love them for different reasons, and that's very true. I think that The Notebook, of course, launched my career, and so that'll have always a special place in my heart, and it's what I'm best known for writing. So, I mean, of course, that has high standard. At the same time, I think the most complex novels I've written have occurred recently, whether it's Safe Haven or The Longest Ride or even See Me, and those are novels that I probably could not have had the ability to write 15 years ago. I mean, they're just that much more complex. So I like to think I've gotten better with age, even though, if you like The Notebook, I've been going downhill for the last 20 years.
It's
right?
just hard to top.
It's a classic.
You set the bar high again.
Right.
So.
It was fortunate.
Yeah. All right. Well, you mentioned that you now have your own productions company, Nicholas Sparks Productions. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you're coming out with some TV shows on top of the movies. And one thing that we're very excited to hear about CW23 is that The Notebook is coming back as a TV show for the CW. Is that right?
We're hoping. It's up to the
We're
CW, right?
All right.
You know,
Well, let's make this happen. Come on, CW.
You have a yes from both of us.
Yeah.
So-
Who doesn't want to know what happens to Noah and Allie in those middle years?
Yeah,
right?
and that's what I was going to ask is what part of Noah and Allie's life will this take place in?
It literally picks up, for those who've seen the film, not necessarily the novel, but it picks up where Allie steps out of the car, looking up at Noah in the house. She shrugs and drops the suitcase, right? Oh,
Very
from
cool.
that moment, well, we know what happens at the end of their lives. But what happened from that moment until the end of their lives?
Definitely. All right. Well, we love the movie The Choice. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Everyone, make sure you see it in theaters February 5th.